Hi friends, welcome back to the Avocado Toast Budget. If you're new here, my name is Lexa, and I always hear people talking about like taking surveys as a side hustle, and I'm always like, but can you really make money doing that? So I wanted to go ahead and see for myself. I see all of these like TikToks and short videos about making all of this money taking surveys that just feels like it's a little bit too good to be true, and that is why I'm doing this video. If you are looking for a way to bring in some extra income, especially from your phone or something that you can do at home, and you're kind of wondering about like whether surveys are even worth it, this is the video for you. I went through all of the steps of finding a survey app, doing it for an hour. I wrote down my whole experience and I'm gonna walk you through it, and we are going to see just how much money I made in an hour of taking surveys. But before we get into it, if you enjoy this video, please remember to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm, helps boost this video to the top. That way more people can find this content. And let's go ahead and get into it. I have never done any of these survey apps before, so coming in as a complete newbie, of course, the first step that I had to take was finding out which survey app or survey service is the best. And like any good millennial, I took to Google and Googled what is the best survey app to make you money. And there were a lot, and to be perfectly honest with you, I got overwhelmed. I did not have time to sit there and filter through the hundreds of lists of the top 10 survey apps that will make you money. So I changed up my game plan and I took to the App Store instead. One app that kept coming up was Swagbucks, and I'd actually heard of this app before, so that was the one that I was originally leaning toward. But when I typed that into the App Store, this app pulled up. It had tons of ratings and positive reviews, so I thought, this is probably the one that I should do. The app that I used is called Eureka, but if you want to see me try out other survey apps or something kind of like this, definitely let me know in the comments down below. I will be your guinea pig of survey taking apps. Here's some of the first impressions that I got of the app. The first one is that it told me that the optimum time to do it is like late afternoon, early evenings, which was perfect because that's exactly when I was doing it. They claimed that taking surveys in the afternoon, specifically on weekdays, will get you more money in theory. The next thing is that it was honestly really easy to set up. I think it took like 2 to 3 minutes just putting in my basic information, and I was ready to go and start taking surveys. And a little side note, I didn't include this like downloading, searching for apps, and signing up process in the hour that I timed myself taking surveys because I figured this is like a one-time thing, and honestly, it didn't take me that long. On the Eureka app, you have 2 different options: quickies and sweepstakes. Quickies are exactly as they sound. They are surveys that take you anywhere between like 1 and 5 minutes. Sweepstakes are the surveys that take a longer time. Most of them that I was finding were anywhere between like 10 and 30 minutes. These have a guaranteed payout, honestly, usually less than $1, but they incentivize you to take them because you are entered in basically a raffle system where you could win more money. Most of the ones I was seeing were anywhere between like $7 and $20. Now that we have covered the basics, let's move on to the survey taking process. I sat down and started my timer for an hour and just started taking the first surveys that they offered me. My goal was to get through as many as I possibly could in this time to truly see what your earning potential is on this app. And very quickly I realized that it seems like they reel you in with some of those shorter, higher paying surveys, but then after a few of them, the earnings really start to go down. I had tons of survey options at first, some quickies, some sweepstakes, but after about 8 to 10 surveys, my options were really limited. Pretty much all of them were the sweepstakes kind, and they had very specific requirements. With a lot of these sweepstakes surveys, they ask you a couple of questions to see if you meet the requirements for the survey. If you don't get to take it, you don't get that money. Eureka does say that they pay you for your time even if you don't qualify for the survey, which I guess is true, but usually it's like a couple of cents. And because you have to meet very specific qualifications to take a lot of these surveys, many of them didn't work for me and I wasn't able to take them. Like I mentioned, these were all the sweepstakes surveys, so that means that I wasn't guaranteed that extra money. I was only guaranteed usually less than $1. They give you an estimation of how long they believe that it will take you to take these surveys. In my experience, I'm a very fast reader. I take surveys pretty quickly, and it still took me longer than expected on pretty much all of them. Luckily, I did qualify for a few of the longer sweepstakes surveys. A couple of them I got into, but then the system ended up crashing or I couldn't move forward no matter how many times I tried to troubleshoot it. So I had to exit out of those surveys and I wasn't paid anything. And one of the first longer ones that I qualified for, I took about 30 minutes to complete the survey and I got 35 cents. Overall, my goal was to spend an hour on the surveys. That way I could see how much you could make in theory hourly if you were just doing surveys. But my timer went off when I was halfway through a survey because it was taking me longer than I expected it to, and I wanted to finish that out. So all in all, I actually spent an hour and 16 minutes taking surveys. And now to answer the big question of how much did I make in that hour and 16 minutes of doing Eureka and taking surveys? Drum roll, please. $5.45. Again, a lot of the surveys I was taking after those initial few that I'm guessing they probably give to everyone to kind of incentivize you to keep going, most of those were the sweepstakes surveys, meaning that in theory, I could eventually win more money. I don't know the statistics on how likely it is that you'll win that money, but I do know that it has been about 2 weeks since I took those surveys, now that I am filming this video about it, and I still have $5.45 in my account. I'm going to go ahead and assume I did not win any of those, which means the few longer surveys that I did take that took me usually anywhere between 20 and 30 minutes to take during that time paid me out about 30 to 35 cents. So in my opinion, unless your chances of winning the sweepstakes are like 50-50, which I'm going to go ahead and say is not the case, it's really not worth your time. To give you some perspective of how much you could realistically make in an hour using this app, taking surveys, I did the math and my 1 hour and 16 minutes at $5.45 came out to be about $4.09 an hour. But also keep in mind, like I did mention, those first handful of surveys paid out way more than any of the surveys that I found after that. And even though I was only able to successfully take a couple of those longer surveys in that time, I did filter through tons of surveys that I wasn't qualified to take or that messed up and I had to exit out of them. So I saw a lot of different surveys, none of which had great payouts unless you won the sweepstakes. But let's go ahead and break down the pros and cons. For the pros, it's easy to set up. Like I said, it legitimately took me like 2 minutes to get all of my information in and to start taking surveys. Also, you can cash out via PayPal or direct deposit, which is a lot better than having to cash out using gift cards like some apps will do. At least in theory, you would be getting actual money. The quick surveys that they offer are genuinely quick and easy and have relatively good payouts for the amount of time that it's taking you to take them. And like I mentioned earlier, you do get paid even if you don't qualify to take the survey. But again, that's like a few cents. So what are some of the cons? A lot of the surveys do require very specific qualifications. So many of them you're just not going to meet and they're going to kick you out and you're not going to be able to take that survey. Generally, you find this out within like the first couple of minutes of filling out your information with that survey. In my experience, most of the surveys say they will take about half of the time that they actually do. And again, I am a very quick reader. I was very focused. I was not doing anything else. I wasn't talking to anyone else. I wasn't just like lolly-dallying around. And it still took me quite a long time to finish a lot of those surveys. And of course, what it has become pretty obvious here is that the payout is absolute. Taking a survey for 30 minutes and only getting 35 cents back is basically like working for 70 cents an hour. 70 cents. Your time is worth so much more than that. Also, you do have to reach a $10 minimum in order to cash out. So even though I made $5.45 in that hour and 16 minutes, I technically didn't make anything unless I make $10 because I can't access that cash. All in all, I think that survey apps kind of really prey on the appeal of working from your home, doing something that seems simple and getting paid for it. But just remember, even working from your phone is still working and you deserve to get paid for your time. Of course, this was just one experiment with one survey app for 1 hour. It could be that I just picked the wrong app on the wrong day, or I just don't meet a lot of the qualifications that you would need to make a lot of money on these surveys. But if I had to guess from what I was seeing in that hour on the app, this is probably pretty standard, if not higher, because I got those higher payout quick surveys at the beginning. If there are different survey apps you want me to try out, definitely let me know in the comments down below. But from what I have seen, I would not recommend wasting your time on this because that's truly what I feel like. My time was wasted. Obviously, I get to learn from this. I get to share it with all of you, so it's not truly wasted. But if I were someone who was just like trying to make some extra money on the side, I would genuinely feel like that was a waste of my time. So that is it for today's video. If you enjoyed it or you learned something cool, definitely remember to give it a big thumbs up. It really helps out the YouTube algorithm, helps boost this video to the top. That way more people can find this content. And I will see you all next time. Bye.